When planning the road to success, there are a few steps to keep in mind. Identifying and solving the cause, facing and embracing change, goal setting, and being accountable. We'll talk about this today on Sustainable Success with Chris Salem. New and healthier habits lead to prosperity in all areas of your life and business. Now, here's your host, Chris Salem.
Welcome to Sustainable Success. I'm your host, Chris Salem. Hope everyone is having a great week. And if you are new here, welcome. You found us here at the Voice America Business Channel, now part of Libsyn, on the Libsyn platform. We just moved over there back earlier this year. And we are so excited that because now we can provide even more types of different content that we have not covered before that you get to engage with. So again, we do listen to our audience each and every week, finding subject matter experts to come in and share insights and personal experiences to help move you and your business to the next level. If you'd like some more information on a content that you'd like to see shared on a future show, feel free to reach out to us here at chris@sustainablesuccess.net. That's chris@sustainablesuccess.net, and we'd be more than happy to take a look at for a future episode. Today's show is being brought to you today by Alumni Direct. Alumni Direct is a new social media community platform dedicated to bringing alumni together from all different generational types and an opportunity to meet new people for the first time. Now, it is a membership program, meaning it takes all the noise out of social media. No more of those noisy notifications and people spamming you for, things on their messenger boxes and so on. This is an opportunity to meet with people that you choose to meet with in a genuine, authentic way where you can share the content that best resonates with you. That could be for people from whether if you were in a sorority, a fraternity, perhaps it was, again, people that you went to college with. It could have been you were a professional athlete now in everyday life and corresponding with other people from your former teammates to people that were in professional sports altogether. Again, it offers a wide array of different services that are not available to the general public. If you'd like some more information about Alumni Direct, check them out at alumnidirect.com. That's alumnidirect.com. We want to make sure also you follow us here on our Apple for Sustainable Success and Spotify as well. That way you can listen to this show in those particular areas anytime, every week, as again, we are a weekly 1-hour show and we go into a depth in a lot of different areas when it comes to business and influence. Well, we got a great show for you today. We're going to be talking about turning business leaders into cybersecurity heroes. And we, again, this is going to be based upon a book that's going to be released as we do the show right now. So we'll leave that as a surprise till the end. I'll let the guests share that with you. And we're going to be here with Rene-Sylvain Bedard, and he is from Canada and has got a wealth of experience in this particular area for nearly 30 years of experience as a technical architect, founder and CEO of Indominus. His work spans consulting firms, governments, telecommunications, aerospace, and SMEs. As a Microsoft partner for over 20 years, he has built strong relationships and received expert training, allowing him to position Indominus as a leader in consulting, AI, and managed security services. As mentioned, he'll be mentioning later about the book, but in 2024, he was sacred, highly commended, the second place in the Best Technology Speaker category at the Speaker Awards in London. And within a few months, Indominus Managed Security was nominated as Best Tech Company by Canadian SME Magazine. And in September, he also published his book called Secure by Design in English, planned in March of 2025. And of course, it did have a French name as well. Again, depending upon where you want to read it, you can read it in French or English. And under his leadership, Indominus is committed to fighting cybercrime globally using innovative technologies and approaches to protect organizations and individuals. He's driven by a passion for helping others and creating a safer world. And Rene-Sylvain is confident that Indominus expertise will shape the future free from cybercrime. With unwavering commitment to excellence and determination to eradicate cybercrime, he is ready to lead Indominus and its partners towards a safer future. And without further ado, we welcome Rene-Sylvain to the show. Rene, how you doing today?
I'm doing great, Chris. Thanks for the invite. It's
Thank
amazing.
you so much. We are so pleasure to have you. And this is a topic, we I have not covered in quite some time, and it's in the area of cybersecurity. And obviously, this is such an important area more than ever with all the the evolvements in technology and everything going on with AI. And and there are more ways than ever before for fraudsters to get our hands on our data that could easily destroy our businesses, our relationships with clients, and all of the above. And so let's just talk a little bit about, I guess I always like to get the kind of the background of, cybersecurity. And, if you could kind of share with us from your experience, how it's shaping up to really help business leaders do much more in their businesses, as well as protect them and their customers.
So, to begin with, the mission came from personal experience. That's usually where it comes from. So we were a successful consulting company. We were helping companies right, left, and center to deploy new technologies. And then we were called into an incident response. So we walk into this engineering firm and they are down. All systems are off. There's not a single computer on. So you have this great floor where there used to be engineer, which is empty and not a single computer is buzzing. And I meet this owner who's been an engineer for like 20 years, successful, lots of project. And you can clearly see that he's shaken, because suddenly, out of the blue, someone he doesn't know, someone he's never heard of before, is trying to steal his company from him. So that's when we did help them. We did recover them. They didn't have to pay ransom, but it was, let's say, 6 weeks of hardships. Lost a lot of money, and so on and so forth. So I won't go into details, but the idea is that at that point, we identified cyber attacks as bullying. It was the exact same feeling. This kid in high school who's getting bullied by the bigger guy who wants his much money. It's the same feeling. You have this small business, proper, honest, clean business.
Yeah, you feel helpless.
And you have this guy who has the IT knowledge, has the manpower, has the money, just hitting on them to empty their bank accounts. It's bullying.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I could totally relate to that, and it's an uneasy feeling, and and when you got all of your energy wrapped up into that, you're distracted from the more important things that could be moving your business along. I mean, obviously, every business owner has to be focused, laser focused on the challenges that could be better, and striving through a process to get to the results they seek and don't have now. So, yeah.
And most business, whether they realize it or not, are based on trust. There is a trust relationship being established between you and your customers, no matter what you sell. If I'm going to give you my credit card number, or if I'm going to give you my financial number to pay you or to be paid by you, I trust you to take care of it. That's the first thing. Second thing, people don't realize that business owners and board members are accountable. Should there be a cyber attack, should data be leaked, should information be stolen, they can be sued. So if they don't take cybersecurity seriously, or my favorite analogy is that they treat cybersecurity as they do with life insurance. So until somebody dies, you don't need insurance. That's not true. That's not how it works. The idea is that if something happens, you want to be ready to face it. So that's exactly why I created the book. The idea is to take those owners, executive, people that are in position of actually making a difference, and educate them, bring them, accompany them along a process, which I call the secure process, and basically take them step by step into creating a cyber secure culture.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And what would you say, to the people listening to the show right now, Rene, and those that will be listening, throughout, over the next, 3 to 6 months, because we have a lot of people that go back and listen. What would you recommend to anybody that is a business leader, business owner, company? Could be again small to mid-sized company. What is the first steps they should be looking at to securitize their data and obviously protect their company? I mean, their assets, just IP collateral, everything. Those types of things.
So just before I go there, if you don't mind, there's something I'd like to implement.
Please do. Yes.
There are myths or false beliefs that are being currently followed through in society that can actually kill their business. So the first step, I believe, is shed lights on those myths and make sure that those aren't taken for granted anymore. I'll just go through a few of them. I go through 5 or 6 in the book, but I'll go through a few here. The first one is, my company is too small to be attacked. So if your company is still alive, it's because it's making money. And guess what? That is exactly what those cyber bullies want. They want your money. They don't care if you're a 10 business shop, a 10 people business, or if you're a 10,000. Is basically, they'll go in, they'll see how much money is in your bank account, and from there, they'll just ask for a ransom based on that amount. So it's not so much if you have military secrets. Those are targeted actions. But if you have money, you're a potential target. That's the first thing. The other thing that I see a lot happening, and I mean, my specialty is Microsoft, so I'll go throughout that.
Yeah.
Route. Oh, my data is in the cloud. Microsoft is responsible for its cybersecurity. I am sorry to explain to you that it is not. There is what we call a shared responsibility matrix. It's in the book. It's also online if someone wants to look it up. And the idea is that, for example, Microsoft will be responsible for everything that's, let's call it, under the hood. But they will not be responsible if your password is 123, and they will not be responsible if you've kept everything default and saying, it's working, I'm not touching it, and I'm not securing it. That's not their responsibility. There is a line where it becomes your data, your configuration, your way of working, and that's not in Microsoft's responsibility. So those are the type of myths that you have to be aware of just to be able to say, okay, I understand that it's my responsibility. I understand that I can be a potential target. Now what do I do about it? And that's when the secure methodology comes in. So secure stands for survey, educate, construct, unify, review, and evolve. Because as in life, nothing is static. Therefore, your plan will also need to evolve. So when you're asking me, what can we do to actually get prepared? Survey is that first thing. Before you get into educating yourself, figuring out what are the tools, technologies, and so on, the first step is, what do you need to protect? You can't say, I'm going to secure everything across the board. It's non-practical. It's going to be very hard to restore. It's going to be very hard to rebuild. You'll lose a ton of time, and it will cost you a fortune. So, survey. Just like when you're building a house, you survey the land. You know where the house is going to be built. But also, you'll know what to protect. For example, if you have 100 X amount of data, and you go through it and you realize that only 10% of it needs to be fully secured and protected. That other 90% can be protected at a different level, but the idea is that most of your money is going to go to that 10%, because that's what you need to stay alive. Those are the services you need for you to keep on working if ever your business is down. That shift alone can save you a ton of money. Because suddenly you're not spending $1 million, you might just be spending $100,000. Very targeted, very, very targeted. And that allows you to also gain clarity. Those are my highly confidential data. This is the data that's already public. People have access to it. It's on the website. I don't need to protect it. I have copies everywhere. This is the data which is strategic. This is the data that I use, for example, if I want to, this is my list of customer, this is my list of highly potential, and so on, fine. And those are the various departments. So you have a matrix. Those are the columns, depending on the sensitivity. those are the different departments. And you have a grid, and you now know this needs to be protected.
Got it.
And from there, basically, you just go around and ask, okay, what are the subsystems? What are the systems on which this data is relying? An example I always give, if I have an Oracle CRM system where all my customers are, I need obviously the Oracle database under it, but I also need usually some identity management like Active Directory to be able to get access to the system. I'll need the network to function in order to get access to those servers. So just to have that list, those are the key system I need to access this key data. And you do that for each of your key data. Now you have what I call a proximity matrix. This is my real close stuff that I need to be able to recover rapidly or to protect faster. Because if something comes in, this is the wall. This is where the partition needs to break so that those systems stay up and running. I talk about things like creating enclaves, much like we used to do in the Dark Age, Middle Age, Moyen Âge in French. Sorry about that. But basically, being able to come and circumvent data from the rest so that it's actually protected to a higher level than the rest.
Yeah. Wow. Well, it's great information. I know you're going to go into more in length in the second segment. As we got about a minute left to our break, do you want to basically sum up what you just shared, just to kind of set the stage what we're going to be talking about in the second segment?
Sure. So in this first segment, what I talked about is basically the first step of the secure methodology, which is survey. And it is about surveying the land, being able to have visibility and understanding about what are your precious data and services, which one do you need to stay alive in the event of a cyber attack, and how do you plan on protecting them?
Wow, great. Well, we got more to come in terms of what rest of the acronym there that Rene shared earlier. We got to go to break, everybody, but when we come right back, we got more to come with turning business leaders into cybersecurity heroes. We'll be right back after the break.
What is balance? It's being true to your purpose and not being distracted by shiny objects, surrounding yourself with family and loved ones, nurturing your spirituality, maintaining healthy balance of emotional and physical wellness, and being present in the moment. Chris Salem creates awareness about unblocking mindset barriers for sales professionals, business leaders, entrepreneurs, and all types of people to have sustainable success at the next level. The solution evolves out of the problem or challenge. The issue is that many people and businesses manage the effect but do not address the root cause. You now have an opportunity to live your life and operate your business in the solution rather than the effect of your challenges. Schedule a time to chat about your goals and the person you desire to be by going to ChristopherSalem.com. We have group consulting calls, one-on-one, and other programs to assist you. It will be the best thing you do for yourself to see how sustainable success is possible for you in your life and business. Join us at the next level. Visit ChristopherSalem.com.
When it comes to business, you'll find the experts here. Voice America Business Network.
You are listening to Sustainable Success with Chris Salem. Send an email to Chris at ChristopherSalem.com. Now, back to Sustainable Success.
Welcome back to Sustainable Success. If you're just joining us, we are talking about turning business leaders into cybersecurity heroes. We are here with Rene-Sylvain Bedard. Again, he is a cybersecurity expert based in Montreal, but works globally with leaders around the world, and particularly in the SMB space, in and around the top area of cybersecurity. So again, we highly encourage those just joining us just to listen to the first segment. A lot of great information to set the stage of basically why you, the business owner, or if you're a business leader tasked with this type of responsibility, why this is so important, because you have to be proactive to not be reactive when it comes to this particular area. It is crucial now than it's ever been before. So, Rene, I know you gave some great information, a backstory, also talked about the secure methodology, starting with the S that you had shared, and so I know you're gonna talk about the next, which is E, and that's educating. Why business leaders have to be educated when it comes to this particular area. If you could talk about that particular area to share with the listeners.
Perfect. So E, standing for educate, is I'm actually shifting things into this section on paradigm shift, as they call it. I do not recommend that you start educating your staff. That's not the way to go. You're a business leader. People follow your lead. People will model your behavior. If to you, cybersecurity is not important, it will never be important to your employee. If, for example, top priority this year is sales, sales will be the top priority and not cybersecurity. So the first thing to do in educate is to educate yourself. You are the most precious ambassador for cybersecurity in your company. You need to set the standard. You can't take cybersecurity and give it to your junior intern and say, fix this. He's not the one who's going to be hit if there's a cyber attack. It won't be his wallet, it won't be his reputation, and it will not be his trust that will be stained. It will be yours as a leader. So first, you educate yourself, you talk about it, and you diffuse that within your management circle. So your management circles knows this is where you're heading. Then you include them into the education. So you educate your management. And the next step after that is that you make that part of their KPI. This is what we're going to follow with regards to cybersecurity. And only then does each of those leaders has the responsibility to train the staff. Because then the entire management is actually rowing in the same direction. That will give you a basis for a cybersecurity culture, which you would not have if you had just trained the staff and then told them to go sell, for example. So that's the first paradigm shift. The step right after that is C for construct. And C is basically about taking what you've learned. Learn about the language, learn about what are the tools, what's the lingo, what's each thing for, and then build your own high-level cybersecurity plan. I have a graphic in the book, which basically is at the center, what I call the command and monitor center. Monitor command center, yeah. Sorry.
That's okay.
And then from there, basically everything connects to it. So in your planning, the first thing you're going to say is, okay, where am I going to send all this monitoring data? Because you want to monitor the different aspects so that you don't have blind spots in your environment. So I'm explaining things like, for example, I'll give an example, an EDR. Chris, do you know what an EDR is?
EDR, I know, I've heard of it, but
that's exactly what most
like enterprise response. I don't know.
It's an endpoint detection and response.
Okay, got it.
So what I do in the book is that I take the EDR and I say, okay, let's compare this to something you know. An EDR is a smoke detector for your device.
Well, that's easier to remember.
So from that point of view, you want to take that smoke detector and you want to connect it to an alarm system. That's what your monitoring command center is. It is a generalized alarm system specialized for your company's environment. And each point like that you turn on, you connect back into the monitoring system. So that way, at the end of the day, all of your systems are connected, all of your systems are monitored, and all the data is brought back to a single point. So if there's smoke that shows up anywhere, you'll know. The main issue I've seen at customers is, for example, they say, well, I have antivirus. That was great in 2000. Not anymore. It's not enough anymore. You actually need to have AI. You actually need to have smarter way of doing things. I compare an EDR and an antivirus to an antivirus needs to receive its definition, and if something does not fit its definition, it does not exist. Attacks today are morphing. They're changing from one station to the next. So you can't stamp them in a library and say, this is what it looks like. You actually need to turn around and have systems that will actually analyze behavior and say, what you're doing there is wrong. I will block you. And that's what an EDR is. It will actually detect if the malicious intent and actually block it. That's one example. I'm doing this for each of the blocks. So for example, protecting your servers, protecting your endpoint, protecting your identity, protecting your cloud resources. And each of those points I'm actually going through and explaining, making analogies, explaining how they are. And so at the end of the day, the owner can take that sheet and say, okay, so this, I'll use this for this, I'll use this for that. I don't have anything for those three. I can go to market for those three, or I can find an expert that will deploy those three. So that way, he will have a complete visibility on his environment. And I'm not against hiring somebody. The issue is that with the current talent scarcity, there's 4 million open jobs right now in cybersecurity. So you need to be, when you get to have an expert come and sit in front of you, you need to know the language, you need to know what you need, and you need to know what you want to protect. That's the only way that he won't tell you, yes, the bill's going to be $600,000, please. That's not what we want. We want to be protected. And most of the companies that are already on Microsoft or already on Google, there are already tools in there that allow you to be secure and to have those basic need covered. Sorry.
Wow, that's go. Keep going, please go.
So Construct is all about basically building those cyber defenses and being able to leverage what you've learned in Educate, what you're discovering in Construct when you're building your blueprint, and then being able to set it up. I'm not taking the owners to the level of setting it up themselves, but more to the level of understanding what's happening during setup, and so that they can actually question sometime, but also make smarter decisions.
That's great stuff what you shared there. So now with the edge, now that's the Construct. How about, if we're getting into the Unity, do you want to discuss that, or you still got more to talk about constructing?
No, we can actually go into Unify.
Yeah.
So now that you have a plan and you've deployed some basic tools, everything in the business is about integrating that into processes. So people, process, and technology. And I'm adding a fourth aspect, which is ecosystem. Because if you have the best technology plan, but for example, you have a process that exports your payroll information and the password is in the script, guess what? The plan's worthless. So all of those processes have to be reviewed with a cybersecure eye. You have to look at it and actually make sure that it is properly secured and it follows the proper aspects. In the same line of thinking, if you have a receptionist that allows a stranger to sit down in a closed office and work because he looks like a technician and she thinks that he works for you, you have a social engineering problem. But people have to also step up and say, excuse me, do you have ID? Do you work for this company? Can we see them? And actually question an abnormal behavior, or even question, I have an email. It says that I owe a bill. I do not know the vendor. Is it a real bill? Or is it an attack? Kind of thinking. So that becomes, making your own users and your internal staff, as well as your management and as well as yourself, accountable for behavior that are not secure. Technology, you have an older system. It worked great for you for the past 20 years. It is filled with security holes. Perhaps you need to do a project to upgrade it and to perhaps replace it with something newer, perhaps something that's cloud-based, but also something that doesn't have so many technology risk. And so technology also has to be viewed into that new cybersecurity light. Last but not least, ecosystem. We saw this at Microsoft about 18 months ago, the SolarWinds incident. So SolarWinds is a provider to Microsoft, so they're one of their partners, and they had access internally to the environment. And so through a very fancy, dedicated, and committed effort, the cybercriminals actually came in through SolarWinds and actually accessed Microsoft. If you're an SMB and you have 1, 2, or 3 partners that have access to your environment, you better make sure that they're also as serious as you are about cybersecurity. And that's why here in Canada, we see it a lot. I think you see it a lot in the States as well. Because larger customers now, you want to get into my environment? You want me to be your customer? Okay, here's my survey of 80 questions. Please tell me how secure you are. Then I'll decide if I give you the keys or not. That's the type of thinking that even SMBs now have to take in order to say, oh, you want full access to my material? Okay, here's the survey, fill this up. My security expert will review it. Then we'll decide if we give you access or not. Because if you give access to anybody, then anybody can gain access. And then also, this case, misbehaving or bad actors can also get access. On that point, I have an example that just popped into my head. There's an engineering firm, global, massive. Cybercriminals spent 3 months creating the perfect video avatar of their CFO. They even mimicked the voice using AI. So they trained a model solely on the purpose of stealing money from them. They stole $25 million. And they actually attacked in Asia with a very specific target because they knew Asians do not argue with their boss. So they actually went into a live video conference, much like we have here, except they were talking to an avatar. They did not know they were talking to an AI model. And they basically transferred $25 million to cybercriminals. So if you take that into account, when I say, your process have to make sure that they're cyber secure, it's the same type of thing. If someone asks you to change an account number and say all deposits will now need to be in this account, somebody somewhere has to cross-check with your partner, has to make sure visually or physically, or call them and make sure, did you truly do this or is this an attack? And those type of things will have to become more and more permanent.
Yeah. So you got to have a lot of checkpoints, I guess, to check what, to see where there's potential, like, somebody's, coming in from the outside. No, I think that's great. And I know you got a couple more you're going to be talking about in the next segment for the secure acronym. But, looking at S that you talked about in this first segment and then the ECU, why is it important to kind of follow? You have to follow that logical sequence,
Well, here's have you ever built a house or did you participate in building a house?
Yeah, I use that acronym all. Yeah, what's the first thing you got to do when you build a house? You got to build a foundation. Before
that, you have to survey the land.
You got to survey the land. Exactly. Absolutely.
It's exactly the same logic. I mean,
yep.
I see surveying the land as a prerequisite because if you don't know what you're protecting, you can't protect it adequately.
Absolutely.
Education. Well, I did talk about the paradigm shift. I say education is an inspirational sport. You have to inspire your staff to actually want to be educated. You can't just say, read this document. They'll read it, and 15 minutes after, it's going to be gone.
Yeah, they don't retain it.
It has to become a way of life. It has to become a culture. And so that when you come and construct new defenses, you have social acceptability, right? Because everybody now knows they need to be secure. Everybody's now aware that it's also their responsibility. So when you come in and say, by the way, we're now going to need multi-factor authentication for everybody, nobody's going to argue, or maybe one or two special cases. But the idea is that everyone will know why it's for. And so that when you unify that into their process and say, oh, by the way, we'll now need to use the MFA against the accounting system just to keep it a bit more secure, or we'll harmonize, authentication to make sure that it's more secure. They will not ask why. They'll know why. They will have been educated on why, and they'll know they're measured on that cybersecurity. So for them, it's an extra add-on. Says, yes, please. The next two-step is review and evolve. So whatever you've set up in the environment, if you don't want it to go stale, you'll need to review it. You'll need to make sure that there's not, any
and
more.
We'll talk about that in the next segment. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Wow. Just, I love this. I love this flow, easy to follow acronym. I know when people, do later in the show, in the last segment, you're going to share details about the book. And, obviously we're going to encourage everybody, to buy a copy, get your hands on that, and then also connect with Rene as well. This is just, valuable. This is a strategy that you don't want to, look over. It's so, so important. So, we got more to come here when we come back. Again, we are talking about turning business leaders into cybersecurity heroes. We're here with Rene-Sylvain Bedard, and we will be coming right back after the break as we got more to finish up with R&E as part of Secure when we come back.
What is balance? It's being true to your purpose and not being distracted by shiny objects, surrounding yourself with family and loved ones, nurturing your spirituality, maintaining healthy balance of emotional and physical wellness, and being present in the moment. Chris Salem creates awareness about unblocking mindset barriers for sales professionals, business leaders, entrepreneurs, and all types of people to have sustainable success at the next level. The solution evolves out of the problem or challenge. The issue is that many people and businesses manage the effect but do not address the root cause. You now have an opportunity to live your life and operate your business in the solution rather than the effect of your challenges. Schedule a time to chat about your goals and the person you desire to be by going to ChristopherSalem.com. We have group consulting calls, one-on-one, and other programs to assist you. It will be the best thing you do for yourself to see how sustainable success is possible for you in your life and business. Join us at the next level. Visit ChristopherSalem.com. Follow Voice America at Facebook.com/Voice America for juicy updates from your favorite radio shows and podcasts. You are listening to Sustainable Success with Chris Salem. Send an email to Chris at ChristopherSalem.com. Now, back to Sustainable Success.
Welcome back to Sustainable Success. If you're just joining us, we're talking about turning business leaders into cybersecurity heroes. We're here with Rene-Sylvain Bedard. Again, he's a cybersecurity specialist expert from the great country of Canada up in the Montreal area. He's worked globally with leaders around with small to mid-sized businesses around the world. And again, we highly encourage those that just joining us to listen to this show in its entirety here by listening to segments 1 and 2, some valuable information about his secure process when it comes to cybersecurity, which should be a primary strategy in any business. So, Rene, I know you had talked about, surveying, education, construct, and then unifying as you covered that. Now, there's two other letters, that make up secure. That's the N, the R and E. If you could talk about what those are, and again, coming full circle, why this again is going to really not only protect, but also really help elevate any type of small to mid-sized business, any business in general.
Yep. So in secure, the R is actually for review, and by review, what we mean is that, at least once a year, you should have an audit. An audit of your configuration. Does it match what we decided? Or has there been some variations on teams? The reason for that is that if you've opened holes, you need to know about it. If you change settings that expose you, you have to know about it, and you have to actually regulate everything. The other thing that has to happen is an actual what we call pen testing or intrusion test. you want to have at least 4 teams that roll over the years, because what team 1 did not check, perhaps team 2 will check. And so that way you have a constant flow of new weaknesses that are found. Now, those weaknesses have to be taken care of by you as the business owner, because some risks you will accept. And in order to accept those risks, you need to have a stamp that basically says, this date, this person accepted this risk. Because should 6 months or a year down the road something happen, you'll go back to the risk history and say, oh yeah, I did accept. I didn't want to deploy this thing that costed, I don't know, $200 a month, and I did accept that risk, and that's where they went through. That it's something hard, but it's something that you must take responsibility for. The people in your team, they're your employees. They can argue with you all they want, saying it's important and everything, but at the end, the leader decides. And so when he decides, he should sign or he should stamp saying, yes, I decided this. I accepted this risk. That way, you have a yearly review process of your configuration. You're testing to that, I would add, you also need to fire drill your executive team. And at least once a month at the beginning, perhaps once every 2 or 3 months after, you have to test. What happens if there's a cyber attack tomorrow? Who are your contacts? Do you have a safe room where you can actually go in with the internet, with access to your contacts on paper? Who are your legal? Who's your IT? Where are your licenses? Where are your software? Do you have a storage outside of the network? Because if there's a cyber attack, you will not have a safe haven anymore. Your company will be a war zone. How do you recover from that? Who is going to help you with reputation, legal? Perhaps you'll need what's known as a breach coach to be able to allowing all these people to work in the same way. You'll obviously need a war room. You'll need a clean computer that's not part of your organization. All this logic has to be practiced. So much like when we were kids, when the bell rang, we had to go outside and we had to be in rank, and all that logic, all that muscle memory has to be built in for cybersecurity access as well.
Yeah, no, so true. So true. I love that. And review, you have to measure to see what's working, what's not. And, and I guess, that's how you evolve from there, right?
I spent almost a third of my career in CGI, which you might know, which is very present in the States. And Serge Godin, the founder, always said, you can't improve what you don't measure.
Exactly. I'm a big acronym. I have what we call the 4 pillars of success. Yep. And that's foundation and how we think. That's going to be preparation, execution, and then measurement. Yep. Repeat.
Yeah, exactly. So that same line of thinking goes as well for cybersecurity. You can learn the best of things. If you don't implement them, it's worthless. If you don't measure them afterwards, they'll fall into decay and eventually will be worthless.
Yeah.
And that leads me to E for evolve. What happened about 18 months ago? Do you remember?
18 months ago?
Yep. Let's go mid 2022 or beginning of 2022.
I mean, we got out of COVID, I guess.
AI.
Oh, AI, when AI started taking off. Yeah.
So the first version of ChatGPT came out.
Yeah, that first, exactly.
And Microsoft started, drum. This is where we're heading. And the entire planet focused on that.
Yep.
What's the fuel of AI? Do you know?
The fuel?
Yep. What makes AI tick?
I mean, I think it's just the ability to optimize and your time and be able to tap into, things that normally, offset your weaknesses. At least for me, I'm speaking from my perspective, but just to optimize and allow you to leverage your strengths.
You're going just a little bit too far. What I was looking for is data.
Oh, data. Okay. Yeah, no doubt about it.
Without data, you don't have any.
Oh, yeah. I mean, optimizing data. No, and absolutely. There's no question about it. And data is more important than ever in any business.
Yeah. So if I'm an SMB, I've been around for 20 years, I have a ton of data, and I just turn on Copilot because I want to have access to those benefits today. I want to have a competitive edge on my part, on the other businesses, competitors, and so on. What happens if there's malware in the data? What happens if someone can manipulate your data because they have access, because they've been hiding in a corner and they just see, ooh, a new AI, and I can query it and ask whatever I want from it? And do you see the nightmare that's coming?
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
It's an announced disaster. So if you want to turn on AI, I say, yes, please do. It's a great thing. But make sure that your data is secure before you do it, and make sure that you have properly, segregated your data before you turn on AI.
Well, yeah, because I mean, you don't want to manipulate it, like you said, in a way that's not true.
Do you want your office's janitor to have access to executive salaries?
No.
But that's the type of thing we're seeing happening right now. People are turning it on without considering what's the proper, what we call sensitivity labels.
Yes.
What we call, actual data governance. This is for executive group. This is for the sales group. This is for the project group. That logic, if it has not been set up ahead of time, can be nightmarish when we turn on AI. That's one thing. Second thing after that is, if you turn around and say that you have malware or you have people that could be manipulating your data, then suddenly something that would have gone great for a month and you'd be able to generate documents for sales and so on very well, suddenly your sales document might have some stuff in it that would ruin your reputation. And you wouldn't see it because now you trust the machine. But if your data is not secure, if your environment is not secure, it's an announced nightmare. So that's what I mean by evolve. Your plan has to take this into consideration. We have something that's coming up in a few years called quantum. Well, quantum computing allows today to do a complete year of calculation in 4 minutes. That's today.
Mm-hmm.
The plan is within 3 to 5 years, whatever is encrypted today will not last more than 3 or 4 minutes with today's encryption. How will that affect your business? I'm not saying you have to become a quantum expert. What I'm saying is you have to see those things coming.
No doubt about it.
Yeah. You have to, be vigilant about what's coming. So that way, when they do come, first, you won't fall off your chair. And second, you also will not fall into the trendy mode saying, oh, we have to go that way. No, you'll know what's your secure boundary. You'll know what's your data you want to secure. You'll know, okay, we need to prep this security before we enable this service. Or we need to change our certificate to quantum resistant crypto before we actually we expose ourselves to the greater public. Those type of things require that you have let's call it a tech watch, where you actually check what's happening and what are the actual trends that are coming up so that you won't be caught off guard. And that's the evolve portion of secure. So we've been through survey, educate, construct, unify, review, and evolve, which constitute the secure methodology.
Wow. This was great information to lay all that out, and to educate. Well, in this case, to share this information, to give them an overview, macro view of how this process works and why this is so important, and so on. And you mentioned, like before in the educate, you gotta look to sources like you that can help them to kind of put it in layman terms. Like they don't have to figure it out, or God forbid, and misperceive what it really is, and then that could get them in trouble. But again, talking to someone who's qualified that can now break it down to how they can process it and then proactively take the right, make the right decisions to implement it into their strategy.
And ideally, there are now some very senior guys that say, okay, I'm going to take a VCISO role. What does that mean? Virtual Chief Information Security Officer. So instead of being a Chief Information Security Officer for a bank or something like that, they'll say, I'll have 5 to 10 customers with who I'm going to spend 4 to 8 hours a week to actually turn around and coach and or to support them into making the right choices. That means that you can turn around and say, okay, I have this question. I note it down. I'm meeting with Darren on Monday. Darren, I read this in the book. It says something about SIEM. Can you explain me what it is? Or I'm not sure I understand what he means by monitoring center. Well, guess what? Then Darren can actually do that role.
Yeah. Wow. No, I mean, Rene, this is valuable information. And I wanted to leave before we let people know more about the book, how to get in touch with you. I know if you could just kind of recap everything you shared and share with us in 1 minute, why not to look at this and resist it because you feel overwhelmed or don't know it enough, but why this is the time to take action, to align with the right sources like yourself, to have this become part of your strategy moving forward.
Fear is based on a lack of knowledge. So that's the base reason why I wrote Secure by Design. It is all about taking people who are afraid of cybersecurity, showing them how it actually works so that by the end, they are confident about their skills. Not about running or operating a cybersecurity shop. That's not what I'm saying. As an executive, can you make the call? Can you understand what's the criticality? What's the sensitivity? How does it work? When I'm talking to you about an EDR, you actually have this mental picture that says, oh yes, the smoke detector, I remember. The idea is that all of those little ropes will help you run a secure culture. It doesn't have to be hard. It doesn't have to hurt. And it doesn't have to cost millions of dollars. It's all about knowing what to protect, being able to educate yourself, your management, your staff, and then eventually construct the environment, unify it with your process, people, and technology, review it yearly, and make it evolve as technology evolves.
Well, Rene, I want to thank you again for taking the time out of your schedule to be with us here today to share this information. It's highly valuable for the listeners, especially those that are running SMBs. Thank you so much. Want to make sure that the audience that audience has a chance to now get to know you. If you could share with them, what is the best way for them to get in contact with you? What are you up to, and anything like you want to share or provide to them?
Perfect. The easiest way to get in touch with me is through LinkedIn. Funny enough, I have a 14,000 users community. I'm the only Rene-Sylvain Bedard in the world. So if you look at my name, you can find me. If you look at indominus.ms, so INDOMINUS.ms as in Microsoft, it basically means untamable. It is our website. And there you will find our service offer, which is very easy. It's separated in three. So if you're a small, medium businesses and you need managed services, we offer cybersecurity as managed service. If you are a larger enterprise and say, I already have my team, but I need hands from experts in Microsoft Cyber Defense, we have cybersecurity as projects. Therefore, we just build it and give you the keys. And if you're an SMB executive or a business owner and you say, Rene-Sylvain, I need some coaching, or I need to go to a retreat with my team so that we really get in deep with your process, then we have cybersecurity as culture so that we can actually ensure that this is actually democratized.
Thank you so much again for being here. Again, we encourage you again to reach out, get to know Rene, have an opportunity now to purchase the book. This is going to change the way you do business going forward to protect you and your alliance partners and customers alike. And again, we want to thank you listeners joining us here each and every week here at Sustainable Success. We are committed each and every week in bringing subject matter experts like Rene in to provide their personal insights and wisdom to help move you and your business to the next level. And again, we'll have all the contact information for Rene in the show notes, including the link to where to buy the book, all of those things in there. And again, we highly encourage you to reach out to him directly. Till then, everybody, have a great rest of your week, and we'll see you next Thursday at the same time. Have a great day and take care.
Thank you for tuning into Sustainable Success. Be sure to join Chris Salem and his guests every Wednesday at 12 noon Pacific Time, and 3 p.m. Eastern Time on the Voice America Business Channel. Have an incredible week.